Good morning again, everyone. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Tsion Yohannes, and I'm the chair for the Center for Gender Equity at UGHE. I would like to welcome you to this second webinar on compassionate leadership, which is hosted by the Center for Gender Equity at UGHE. Thank you for making time to attend this session. We had a similar one on Tuesday, where we had more than half of the second cohort of mentors and mentees. So in this event, we of course have a very small group of mentees and mentors, but I think it means a more engaging conversation and a better connection to each other. So we also appreciate the participants who are here today. Let me give you a brief, some information about what today's session is going to be like. We will start the session with an opening remark from our Vice Chancellor, Professor Agnes Binagwaho, followed by an introduction of the present mentors and mentees by Arsene Obabagabo, who's a lecturer at UGHE's Institute of Global Health Equity Research and also a mentee in this program. After the introductions are facilitated, our distinguished speaker, Kidest Nadew, will do a presentation on compassionate leadership for about half an hour. And after the presentation, participants will get a chance to raise their questions to the speaker and also answer some questions. And here is some housekeeping rules for your consideration. We would really be happy if you can keep your videos on during the webinar. It means we can see each other and connect better. But we advise keeping the audios off unless we are speaking. And if you have any questions during the presentation, there is a Q&A feature down on the page. And there you can type up your questions. But at the end of the presentation, there's also the option to raise your hands and speak up. So that's possible. So before we begin, let me do an introduction to the speakers. Our first speaker, Kidest Nadew, is an experienced healthcare professional with extensive work in clinical care, program management, global health, and senior management roles as a country director for Yale University Global Health Leadership Initiative global programs. Kidest has worked in Ethiopia, in Rwanda, Australia, and Republic of Ireland and Nigeria in programs and services, coordination in child health, HIV and AIDS, and PMTCT, hospital middle management, among other roles. In her current role, she supports the Libyan primary healthcare capacity building with a remote-based team. She has led the development of multiple healthcare programs, development of curriculum and leadership, and personal development coaching programs. Kidest holds a Master's of Health Science from University of Sydney and is a doctoral candidate with Glasgow Caledonian University, UK in Health and Life Sciences. She also holds various certificates in leadership and change management and coaching. Thank you so much for leading this session, Kidest. We are extremely grateful for your role and for doing this with this cohort. And here with us, we also have Professor Agnes Binagwaho, who's the Vice Chancellor of University of Global Health Equity in Rwanda. She will give her opening remarks. Before her role as a Vice Chancellor, Professor Agnes worked as the Executive Secretary of Rwanda's National AIDS Control Commission, as Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Health, and as the Minister of Health in Rwanda. She serves as the Senior Advisor to the Director General of the WHO, is a Senior Lecturer at Harvard Medical School, and Adjunct Clinical Professor at Dartmouth. She is a member of the US National Academy of Medicine and a Fellow of the African Academy of Sciences. She was named among the 100 most influential African women for 2020 and recently won the UNESCO L'Oreal International Prize for Women in Sciences. I would now like to invite you all to listen to Professor Agnes' opening remarks. Welcome, Professor Agnes.
Good afternoon, everybody. Dear mentors and mentee for cohort 1 and 2 of the mentorship program, dear Tsion and team, faculty members of UGHE, I am very pleased to warmly welcome everyone for this webinar organized for the cohort 1 and 2 of the UGHE mentorship program. The mentorship program is very important for UGHE to support and help the next generation of global health scientists at the time of major changes in health sector and health science education and research. Thank you, Tsion, and your team for successfully organizing this global mentorship program. The UGHE mentorship program is an innovative one that was launched at the request of young African scientists and implemented by the Center for Gender Equity as one of the actionable items from the Great Global Health Conference, Women Leaders in Global Health, that UGHE held in 2019. The young female scientists asked us to create and maintain networks between early career professionals and health professional experts in Africa and beyond who have achieved successful professional lives. So here we are with the new second cohort of mentees and great mentees from the first cohorts, great mentors also, who are thought leaders, innovators, fantastic coaches, and change makers to mentor you all and help flourish your huge potential. These mentors will identify how to improve your work, find your great potential, and will make you believe in your own ability to grow, learn, and develop, and ensure you will get results. This mentorship program focuses on young African women because it is more difficult for young women to progress in this field that is seriously gender imbalanced. The mentorship also aims to equip all participants, male or female, with knowledge on how to lead their global health activities with attention to social justice and gender equity, and to help you improve your professional and family life. Mentors will give you formal guidance on how to be lifelong learners and grow continuously your skills, and how to navigate and embark in new roles, etc. This program is funded by elevating both mentors and mentees' leadership, as they are cross-cutting and necessary skills in any role, with the goal for the mentees to give back one day and become mentors themselves. To allow for mentees to grow in such leaders, the mentor's role will provide support either in a formal or informal ways and help to teach how to create appropriate networks. The role of mentees is to take ownership of the relationship and provide the direction in which they wish to see the mentorship go and grow, and be specific with the type of support they need. Both mentees and mentors need to be transparent and honest in their communications and expectations. To facilitate this, the University of Global Health Equity's Center of Gender Equity will host several webinars, and the past webinars are accessible to all. You can ask Tsion and her team. They will tell you how to access them. Today's webinar focuses on compassionate leadership. It is timely because COVID-19 has demonstrated that to deal with the pandemic's effects, such as spiking mental health crisis and inequities, we need collaborative, innovative, and empathic approaches to close loops in communication among health professionals and their patients, among community members, and in families. I thank everybody for joining the UGHE team, and I hope all mentees and mentors will enjoy and learn from this engagement. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much. I'd like to thank Professor Agnes for stressing what mentorship means for UGHE, how it was initiated after Women Leaders in Global Health Conference, and also what's expected of mentors and mentees. And also how the Center for Gender Equity can help with this. As she noted, feel free to reach out to us anytime with questions. We are happy to help with anything. Professor Agnes has another event and would not be able to join the rest of the conversation, but I would like to thank her for her remarks. So maybe before we go into the session and introductions, let me also say something about our program. This program was initiated a year ago, and we took 25 mentors and 25 mentees in the first year of the program, and participants came from 25 countries, with the majority females. So in the first cohort, we had 64% of all the mentees and mentees females. And we hosted 3 webinars last year. One was on effective mentorship. The second was on development of learning objectives. And the third one was on leadership and in a mentoring program or in a mentoring context. And we had been following up on the mentors and mentees from last year with check-in meetings and emails. And this time around, we have 30 mentors and 30 mentees. Again, 25 countries are represented in this group, and the majority, around 71%, are from Africa, and the rest come from other regions like Asia, North America, and the Caribbean. And in this group as well, we have majority female among the mentees as well as the mentors. And all mentors and mentees work in different roles in the global health field. So we hope this is really a chance for early to mid-career global health experts to meet with senior and senior ones with vast experience. And we are very happy about the diversity. So like I said earlier, the majority joined the last webinar, but we will also share the recording of this webinar to the ones who took the session on Tuesday. And I would also like to note that the profile book of mentors and mentees is completed and will be shared to you all at the end of this week. So you'll get to see the amazing profile of all participants soon. And now, without further ado, let me call on Kidest to provide us with an introduction to the concept of compassionate leadership. Welcome, Kidest.
Thank you, Tsion. It's good morning, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with you today, and I'm honored to be spending this time with you, talking about the introduction to compassionate leadership session. I am thinking there's a lot of people here with a lot of experience and a lot of seniority, and there isn't a lot of us. So I'm hoping that we would have a very interactive session. And I'm going to ask for some volunteers to throw in some ideas now and then, but towards the end, what we're going to do is we're going to allocate time for Q&A and discussion. And as I said, there isn't a lot of us, so there's plenty of time. And the other thing about a small group of people is that you can't escape in the screen. It's all in one screen, so we see everyone. So it's great. I would like to start the session by exploring some concepts around leadership and bring in compassionate leadership into this together with the leadership journey of the mentees and the mentors, essentially, as we move through and progress through this program. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to turn my screen off for a reason that my bandwidth, there's someone actually doing video conference downstairs, so my bandwidth is going to be chewed. So I'm going to turn off while I share the screen, I will turn off my camera with apologies. Okay. So I don't want this to be death by PowerPoint, but I've got some points sort of as a prompt and for you to hear it and see it. But I'd like to start the session by exploring, as I said, some leadership. And we hear the word leadership every day and everywhere, be it as in an organization or community or at a country level or at a global level. It's a word that's thrown around, and it means different things to different people. And the word leader has been used in various situations. So what does, when you hear the word leaders, what image or example or a word come to mind? If you can, one person or two people can tell me, what are some of the things that come to mind? Don't be shy. So when you hear the word leaders, I mean, traditionally, what comes to mind?
Hi, I'd say for me, a leader is someone who takes the lead, so who goes in front of everyone and shows them the way.
Okay. All right, so that's the first thing that comes to mind. Fantastic. What else?
A thought expert, someone who really knows what it is that they're doing, like a subject expert.
All right, so they know what they're doing. They're the experts. What else? One more.
Yeah, one more. I would add on top of that, a leader should show the good example. So it's a role model to follow.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys are living in the 21st century, so you have got your leadership thinking really, really well. But in most instances, when I ask this question, what I hear is tall and strong. So that's the traditional way of, how a leader presents itself, right? It's powerful. So leadership is always associated with power. It's, being the loud in the front, someone who stands in the front and say things, or someone who's charismatic. But according to your definition, which is great, leaders come in all sorts of shapes, size, and ages, and they're found everywhere, including anywhere, school, organizations, startups, governments, the army. So they're everywhere. And with this in mind, there is a quote that was said by the sixth president of the United States. So what he said was, if your actions inspire others to dream more, to learn more, to do more, and become more, then you are a leader. So that formal title kind of goes out when we see this. Anyone can be a leader. This means, like, we're all a leader. It's a skill that we can learn and practice. It's like developing a muscle. So if we want to develop a certain muscle, what do? We train. We target that muscle and we train every day, or we train frequently. So leadership skill is like developing a muscle. We practice it, we learn it, we practice it, we learn it, we practice it. So we develop that skill. So according to John Quincy Adams, that anyone can be a leader. So with this again in mind, I would like to do a little bit of this brainstorming. And we all come from different parts of the world, and we all have different experience. So based on the quote previously, who do you admire as a leader in your own setting? And please don't think about those global leaders that are like out there, like, I mean, everyone says, Nelson Mandela or Barack Obama or someone. No, we're not interested in that. They're great, but they started somewhere. So I'm interested more in your area, who do you admire as a leader? And what are the qualities you believe that makes them good leader? And you don't need to tell me the names, but you can tell me the role they play. And I'm thinking it could be in your personal life, it could be in a family, it could be in a place you work, or in the community. But think of someone and just think of their quality. So I'm interested more in their quality. If you can, one or two volunteers can share with us what they're thinking and who they're thinking and why.
Can I come in?
Sure.
Yeah. So when I started doing research, I have met a professor in my university, and I start to really be close to him because I have been interested in research from his center, and he was really, I think my inspiration came from him because of his way of making people really, I would say, addicted to research. He's really an expert in all fields in terms of global science, global health, and medical science, and whatever subject you take, he's already up to date about every aspect of the subject. So that was really, really amazing. And the second qualificative, I would say, was that he was so humble. Even with all this knowledge, he was really, really humble. He was not like a professor. He was really available even for the youngest students from the center. So that has really, really marked me about his mentorship or leadership.
Lovely. Thank you. Rogomor, do you have another? Yeah, do we have? Yeah, okay.
There are some in the chat box as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
so also when I joined the clinical research, I met a lovely female doctor, and I really considered her a leader before I even got to know her on a personal level. And this is because the way in which she interacted with those around her, you know, even her juniors, even her peers on the same level as her. She came across as someone who really wanted to understand what it is that you are struggling with. You know, when you would go to her with perhaps an issue, she would want to understand it on your level, and then using her expertise, then she would then guide you and, you know, give you guidance. So that for me was really outstanding for her, because she in the way she carried herself, she displayed leadership, and, you know, she strived to be understanding. And that for me was great qualities to have. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So I think between the two of you, you've covered all, you know, what is required. And at the very, very basic level and at elementary level, we require leaders to have these skills. So if they're going to call themselves leaders, this is the basic skill that they're supposed to have. So the knowledge, communication, listening, high integrity, role models, accessibility. You see, you know, Dr. Connie said that, you know, the person being available, being present, imparting knowledge, problem solving, decision making, enthusiasm, and being an influential. So this is at the very, very least that we expect from them. But we need to be mindful that leaders' job is not to be in charge or to be a boss, right? Their primary role is to take care of the people that they're in charge of, their team, their people. So we want them to be sensitive to the environment that they are in, and notice and understand what's happening. And that's it. That's just goes without saying. When you are in a leader's position, in a leadership position, this is what you do. Give credit when it's due, but accept responsibility when things don't go well. And it's sort of, you know, some people in our work environment, we've experienced that the leaders, the bosses, took all the credit of other people's doing, but it's in reverse. They give credit to the people who got the result, but when things go wrong, they take responsibilities. They acknowledge mistakes. They embrace cultural diversity. And when we talk about cultural diversity, I'm not talking about language or where you come from or anything like that. That included, but also experiences, knowledge, capacity, beliefs, and values. That's all the cultural diversity that is expected within the team. So leaders embrace that. And at the same time, then we're moving up and there's layers, okay? And at the same time, it's expected that they approach their role with a vision. And they have the ability to build trusting teams. And they understand that their primary responsibility is to create an environment where people can be their natural best and be authentic, and understand that they are responsible for people who are responsible for the results. So as a leader, there are multiple layers, and if you don't look after that, you're not going to get the result. The other thing that's expected of leaders is they have a vision, they have a strategy, but they need to be able to change their strategy if things don't work. That means adjust course, adjust plan. And people who can think on their feet to do all that are considered to be leaders. So based on this, leadership is widely defined as, sorry, my computer is frozen for whatever reason. Okay, so the definition of a leadership, and you both have said it in different ways, that people have a way of imparting that knowledge and taking you with them and influencing you. So for the research, for your research capacity, your mentor, your advisor created a scenario for you that where you're going next time, you think about research, you think about pleasant experiences because you were influenced in a positive way to move forward with your research experience. So leaders have the ability to influence people to work willingly and not pushing them, but to work willingly for the group's objectives. So what we're saying is, and when we're saying that a leader is anyone who can influence, and I'm sure we all can name, and we've named them. At the organizational level, leadership is about mapping out where you need to go and win as a team and as an organization, and it's considered to be a dynamic and inspiring and motivating way of being. I'm going to bring in another president's quote because I think it speaks to what we're talking about. And this is President Ronald Reagan, from the late 70s to the early 80s, was the American president. So what he said was the greatest leaders are not necessarily those who do the greatest things, because that's what we think. But they are the ones that get the people to do the greatest things. So it's not them in the front line, it's their people. They're in the back, they're in the background, making things happen. So they're the greatest leaders. So we've heard that leadership is about influencing people and supporting people. And as leaders, the people we influence and we lead often come with they're a package. It's not just a single person that we see, right? They come in with a diverse knowledge and background, experience, value, and belief. Not only that, they also come with their fears and hopes and upbringing and their communities and their experiences, their successes, their failures, their perceptions. So when I turn up to my organization, I'm taking all this with me. So my leader is expected to, manage this and enable me to be my natural best, to contribute towards the team's goal. So can you imagine if you have 10 people in your team or the people that you work with, and they all come with like 10 things that they have to deal with. So you have 100 things that you're dealing with. So you have their family, you have the whole community is in that organization. So the one time that we actually realized this is what's happening is, and then I'm glad, Agnes brought it up earlier on. So in 2020, what happened? We all got thrown into an experience we never imagined. that posed like significant challenge to everyone. And it challenged the status quo of leadership then, more so than before. I mean, we were talking about it before, but it really did. It actually showed the teams and the organization's fear, stress level, it just go up through the roof. So the pandemic brought a lot of fear of the disease itself, globally, loss of jobs, loss of income. It brought in the fear of the unknown, family responsibilities, working from home, isolation, homeschooling, wherever you are, it brought all that in. So until recently, leaders were demanding more from their teams and demanding, leaders, the team delivers. But what happened was it flipped. And the team now is demanding, or anyone that's within your group is demanding more from the leaders. And the standard practice of leaders serving, like getting results through fear, actually has changed. They serve their followers. They've become servant leaders. Now, when we talk about it, get rid of the servant definition that we know of out of your head. It's mainly about serving your team to get the best that they need. So now more than ever, what's happening is we're requiring a certain type of leadership. So a leader that is reflective, respectful, caring, empathetic, listening with emotional intelligence. It's always been there, but it's never been really challenged until recently. And it's been challenged to its core. And what happens is that people want to be treated as human beings, wanting to feel safe and relating to people. That has been amplified. And I'm sure you will come to know this person. And she's a well-known researcher and author. Her name is Dr. Brené Brown. And she's written a book, Dare to Lead. And in that, she reiterates that there is more focus on the needs for leaders who are self-aware enough. So self-aware enough to lead from their hearts, as in, your heart, rather than unevolved leaders who lead from hurt and fear. So now you are not leading your team through, get on with it. You're leading your team is like, let's go together. And leaders have responsibilities for the people who do the job, who bring results through creating and maintaining a culture where they thrive and have psychological safety. And psychological safety has come again and again and again as a core foundation for an organizational or any setting culture. And it allows individuals to be themselves, and it creates the right environment through respect, kindness, empathy, listening, courage. And most importantly, what has come up now is compassion. And I think we know compassion through charity and religion and all that kind of stuff. But, what does it mean? What does compassion mean? Compassion is a quality of having positive intention and genuine concern for others. So it's nothing to do, charity has taken it, but compassion is, care and kindness. And especially the tendency to think about the needs and the goods of others. Compassion starts with us, which means being kind to ourselves first. If we don't know how to, if we don't know how to be kind to ourselves, if we don't love ourselves, if we don't treat ourselves well, if we don't understand ourselves, how could we claim to do that for others? I think that's one thing we need to understand. So the thing starts with us. We look in the mirror, we listen introspectively, we listen to what's going on within us. It's when we understand what's going on within us that we can be compassionate to others. It doesn't require a lot of things, really. It requires these 4 things for us to be compassionate. Awareness of our own feelings, stress, fear, whatever brings that emotion, and the feeling of others. Paying attention to ourselves and those we lead and listening to understand. So Paying attention means what goes on, having your finger on the pulse of your team entirely and understanding what's happening on the ground. And then once we understand what is facing them, because we're introspectively understood ourselves, we can put ourselves in their shoes through empathy to understand what's going on with them. What are they facing? It's when we do that, that we actually understand and emotionally connect, and we're compelled to act and support and help them grow, solve their problem, all those kind of things. Now, it's interesting because we're always busy, and we are very busy. For some reason, it doesn't matter how much technology or how much convenience we have, but we're still busy. And when that happens, it stands in the way of compassion. It becomes a distraction. And there was an interesting experiment, we'll talk about it later, remind me. There was an interesting experiment done in a seminary school, of all places, to show that, you know, the thing that time and the feeling of that business has against compassion. So when you're in a leadership position, whether we are at the higher level or a middle level or opinion leaders or thought leaders, if we perceive ourselves to be busy, we won't have time to be compassionate. So again, compassion is about time as well, giving time, allocating time, making time to be present. So as I mentioned earlier, COVID-19 pandemic has amplified the need to change in leadership approach. And leaders are now required to have the courage to acknowledge the team members' feeling, because that's something, it takes time. It takes a lot of anyone's time to be able to be dealing with things, but now they have no choice but to face it. And compassion in leadership emerges when leaders live and interact in ways that exhibit compassion for themselves and relationship with others. So there's always us, and then there is the others as well. And compassionate leaders are act intentionally to create a positive impact. So basically numerous studies have shown that in a business as usual environment, and when I say this, please think about it, your mentee-mentorship relationship in the process, because you're working, you've got your responsibilities. Both the mentees and the mentors have separate, like their lives, life happens on the side. So just remember how that is going to affect the way you relate, the way you be present, the way you act, you create a positive space or positive impact. Just think about that. How does this resonate with you when you do this? So numerous studies have shown that in a business as usual environment, compassionate leaders perform better and foster more loyalty and engagement by the teams versus the other. And because if someone makes you feel good and says, listen, I hear you, I understand you, what happens inside for you? You feel you're understood, you feel good, and you want to give more. You want to do more, you want to engage more. So if that feeling is good for you, someone, the way you were treated, then it's easier for you to replicate that to the people you deal with. Compassionate leaders are leaders with a well-developed compassion. So we talked about leadership and what leaders do, and then we brought compassion. So compassionate leaders, so we're bringing it together, are people with well-developed compassion level and leadership skills, and act intentionally to create positive impact. Compassionate leaders create a space to establish an interested awareness of what's going on within and around them. And they demonstrate empathy, put themselves in their teams, in that individual's shoes, and understand from their point of view. And that helps them to better tap the emotions of others' feelings and act with compassion to make individuals and groups feel genuinely cared for. Compassionate leaders lead with empathy, but the difference is that they do not stop there. So empathy is putting yourself in someone's shoes and you understand. But when you are compassionate, you are actually compelled to help, to act through that connection. So one of the tools compassionate leaders use to achieve this is what we call compassionate communication. How many of you have heard of that? Compassionate communication. And what do you think it is? Seriously, it's not rocket science. Very, very simple. Basically, by being yourself and sincere, the first step is be yourself, be sincere, respect others' rights to their own values and principles. So that's the number one step. In other words, get rid of that ego that's there and just come down to that person's level and be yourself. There's no mask that you need to put on because you're a leader. You're making yourself vulnerable to your team, essentially, and let them know that you're one of them. Then focusing on the other person and listening attentively with empathy by being aware of your verbal and nonverbal language. So remember, I mean, I'm sure you all know about, verbal communication and body language and the tone of voice and the proportion. People usually see what you're displaying on your body language. And if they don't match what you say, doesn't match with your body language, you lose your credibility essentially for that communication. So listening with empathy, feel what they're feeling through emotional connection, stir compassion, our desire to help. Don't rush to respond. Consider your response, say it with care and genuine encouragement. Be aware of, again, your verbal and nonverbal language. Because when we listen to respond, right? So we kind of go, as the person's talking to us, we're thinking about our responses in our head. So we're not completely there listening. Another thing that we need to bear in mind is disagreement often happens and difficult conversations happen. In a team environment, just because two people exist, there's going to be conflict. Conflict is something that it's not something that we can avoid. But when that happens, you as a leader, as a compassionate leader, will probably have to take a step back, because that person that's talking to you is not going to facilitate your need at the time because they're so engrossed in what is going on with them. So don't take it personal. So these are 4 simple steps for compassionate communication. You don't need to go and do scientific, thing to it. It's just being human. But the most important thing, the most important thing is listening. There is no tool for compassionate or empathetic listening. There isn't. There is no guideline to say, A follows B. It's just, there's no script. Basically what happens is it's based on the person and the situation. So you follow the person's lead. However, there are, again, to empathetic or compassionate listening, there are about 5 points that you need to think about. Be non-judgmental. So it's very hard not to be judgmental. If I were, you probably think, oh, if I were you, I would do that. It's like, how could you do that? Be non-judgmental. Let go of your own opinion and acknowledge the other person's point of view and emotions. Give undivided attention. And that's when I say the time constraint. If we perceive we're busy, if we perceive we have on our plate everything that needs to be done, we're going to be rushed, and we're not going to give undivided attention. So give undivided attention, listen carefully, pay attention to what's being said, and pay also attention to what's not being said, because just because someone is telling us something, that doesn't mean that's the whole story. So reading between the lines and listening and watching their body language. show that you're listening carefully without interruption. So you might just make an acknowledgement, and something like that, but without interruption. Allow silence, because giving the other person a space to think will encourage them to discuss more or even think about their own solution. Essentially, they may, just by allowing them space to think and talk, you may help them to come up with their own solutions or solve their own problems. There is a principle that we use in coaching, and that is when you talk to someone, and someone is talking to you, when you have the urge to respond, think about the word wait. And that's not because you need to wait, because it tells you, why am I talking? Wait. Because that allows you to give that person a space. Restating what has been said, referring to the same word that they have spoken that, and asking that question through stating. So what I'm hearing is, or what you just said was this. Am I right? Or did I get that right? Have I got that right? Things like that. Always check with the person if they have any questions, and then if you want to connect or follow up again. So with compassionate skills and compassionate communication, compassionate listening, you will win a lot of friends and a lot of engaged team within your team. And again, thinking about your mentor and mentee relationship, that is really important, especially you're not in the same country. You will be communicating probably, some of you won't be in the mentor and the mentee won't be in the same location. So we have to rely on screens, maybe WhatsApp and things like that, because there's the phone call, or it could be emails. So that communication will require, again, a different set of, the verbal cue will change. It will be more the tone of voice or the space you're giving to someone. But just bear in mind that these are the things that you need to consider when you're communicating compassionately. Interestingly, though, there are a lot of myths about compassionate leadership. And these myths are compassionate leadership looked as weakness, because you're down there, you've come down to the floor, to the grassroots, and you're communicating and helping. You have feelings, and as someone up there, you probably are not supposed to have feelings. You probably heard that, being compassionate leader may not address strict performance management issues, and hard conversations would be looked at bullying. And some people will say it's difficult to be able to challenge the status quo, because if it is like, if this is the way we work, then you won't be able to challenge it. They reckon, some people think, if you have a compassionate leader, the most powerful and most ruthless leader will control whatever is going on. I like this person for what she has done to date. This is Jacinda Ardern. She is the Prime Minister of New Zealand. She actually gave birth soon after she was elected, and she was bringing her baby to Parliament during Parliament sitting. And she's gone. She's carried that country through a lot of the terrorist attack, volcanic sort of disaster, COVID-19. So she is well known, and I'm sure you know her. But in one of her speech, she said, one of the criticism I've faced over the years is that I'm not aggressive enough or assertive enough, or maybe somehow because I'm empathetic, it means I'm weak. And she said, I totally rebel against that. And I refuse to believe that you cannot be both compassionate and strong. So remember that you can be compassionate and strong. It's in your communication, it's in your presence. Compassionate leadership means creating a condition through consistently listening, understanding, empathizing, and helping. And I can't reiterate that enough. And to make it possible to have a tough performance management and tough conversation when it's needed, it's possible. Compassionate leadership ensures a focus of inclusive responsibility for ensuring high quality work. So basically, it possesses sincere respect, concern for others, act with empathy, understanding, and kindness, considers everyone as important, and pursues justice and equality. And such leadership creates the condition where it is possible to identify any challenge, an appropriate power of use or control of resources, and it's able to address it within the organization. It requires enormous courage, though. I think we've sort of agreed on that one in the last few sessions. Because you're tempted to fix everything. As a compassionate leader, though, you have to kind of stop yourself from doing that. It doesn't try to fix everything. It's not afraid to have difficult conversation regarding performance, and does not try to control situation, and does not stifle growth. And that goes against the traditional management / leadership. I mean, they use them interchangeably. I rather do that's a management thing, not a leadership thing. So, it requires enormous courage, resilience, and belief. It begins with self-compassion. So attending to oneself, understanding the challenge faced within ourselves in life, at work, generally, and empathizing with ourselves, be kind to ourselves, and self-care as well is really important. And then taking action to help others, because no one can give someone a full cup when your cup is empty. So remember that. If your cup is full, you're looked after and you're generous to yourself, you can give. But if you're running on empty, you can't. You're not used to anyone. People who practice compassionate leadership take a stand for the greater good, and they create culture in organization that empowers everyone to be themselves. They value contribution. They lead their team through connection, creativity, cooperation. They promote innovation and compassion and concern for others. So in summary, compassionate leaders fulfill their roles of motivating and influencing and moving the team towards the group's vision and goal through noticing. And as I said, bring it to your mentor-mentee relationship as well. So the idea is for you to help each other. It's not a one-way street, it's actually a two-way street. So the mentors, through experience, they'll be able to guide the mentees. But at the same time, the mentees will also need to be compassionate to their mentors in the way they communicate and the way they deal with them. So the question always should be, as leaders, what we need to ask ourselves is, how are the people in the team we lead, the people we work with, how are they doing? What's happening? How are they developing? What support do they need to achieve their goals, solve their problems, move forward? What do we need to do to bring everyone together? So we need to understand, unless we pay attention and attend to other people's fear and stress level and feelings as well, we're not likely to attend to their performance at all, whether it's good performance or bad performance, unless we know what's going on. So basically, this is a leadership journey that the mentees and the mentors have started. Because as I said, it's going to be a two-way of learning. And as you start your journey, I mean, you have this, you understand this, leader is the goal setting, the problem solving, the doing, you understand that. But you start with the being and the opportunity to grow and change through learning, support, and mentorship. And that comes, whatever you experience you'll bring it together. Now, I'm not sure how many of you have had a mentoring experience. And I think from where you are, you said not at the official level, but some level of mentoring, you've gone through career, you've met people. Whatever your experience to date may be, I want to spend a minute or so going on to mentor-mentee relationship. So it's creating it's creating and nurturing the right mentor-mentee ratio involves creating a safe and supportive environment. And that's what we've been talking about for the last few minutes, that compassionate, safe and supportive environment where both of you can build trust, set goals, achieve these goals through creative problem solving. And unless there's that connection, it's going to be, to do this would be difficult. The role of the mentor is quite simple, right? They provide guidance and support to mentee to help them develop professionally and personal skills to help them achieve their goals. That's very simple. It isn't that simple. So what we've been discussing about the skills that you need is what comes in there. And the mentees, we're all humans and life gets in the way, always. With all good intention, we start and we zigzag through life. It comes in the way. So that compassionate, safe environment is really important. Mentees normally drive their relationship by determining what kind of role modeling they want to mirror to achieve their goal. And everyone understands, both mentor and mentees understand that this is a relationship that grows over time. It's not something that's going to happen, like the gaining of trust to understanding each other. So it builds upon actions. Mentees take full responsibility for keeping their mentors in the loop. And they keep communicating. They help them understand. They even if they deviate from the arranged and agreed upon plan, based on learning along the way, that is really the expectation. So no mentor or mentee relationship are the same. It's unique. Each relationship is unique to the people involved. However, there are essential qualities that each mentor and mentee relationship covers, and that is compassion. And as you embark on your journey to developing your leadership skills, I think starting with compassionate leadership and developing that skill is actually quite a good way of starting your journey. Thank you. I think that is the end of me talking, and I'm going to open the floor for you to reflect on what we've shared so far and ask questions. But to get you started thinking, I've just thrown there 3 questions that might help you tweak. So I'm happy for you to raise your hands and start the discussion.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kidest, for this engaging presentation. I'm sure the participants found almost all of these points relatable. I, for one, has been thinking about what was said about self-awareness, what we need to work on, recognizing our qualities, and that's, I really appreciate this session. I'm sure our participants have some questions. Feel free to reach out, to unmute and ask your questions. If not, we can also look into a couple of questions that were raised last time on Tuesday's webinar.
Or comment. You may not have a question. You may have a story to tell about your experience. It could be anything. All right, Dr. Connie.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor, for this really nice presentation. And then I actually start to make, the difference between what role can have the compassion in the leadership or mentorship, even though we have. Even you use it, you don't really make it formal. You don't realize that you are already doing it somehow. And I just have one question and maybe share some experience. And my question will be on this. I mean, when you say to be a compassionate mentor or leader, you have to be yourself to really reach this part of your, inside and be compassionate. Is it something innate or we learn it? Because some people are just compassionate by I mean,
nature.
They are more careful, naturally more careful than others. So how do we deal with this situation where when we are yourself, then you are not compassionate? So how do you do?
Well, we're all born compassionate. I think whatever we learn, life teaches us, our upbringing teaches, our schools, our work environment. There's a number of things that will come to play, but you can dig deep. And I'll give you an example. I used to be an adrenaline junkie. And when I say that, I like to sort of run myself to the ground and pack my time. And, so basically I won't have time for anyone. And once I had a coach who absolutely challenged me to start. So basically he said, when you go to a restaurant, sit down and listen. Just don't think about anything else, but try and be curious about other people's conversation and what goes on with you and all that kind of stuff. So he would be challenging me. And every week I had this with him. And it got me to think now, and the best gift I can give you now is my time. Because there's a value to that. And self-care comes into it. Because for me, if I don't know what it's like to eat well and be satisfied, how am I going to feed the hungry? Like if I don't know what it's like to be hungry, how am I going to do that? So I need to have that experience. So if you do that, you don't do this overnight. Nothing happens overnight. You've got it in you. So stopping and thinking and go, if something say, for example, something triggers you. So this is an example. If something triggers you, you need to stop and go, why is it? Why am I feeling that way? Right? Why am I angry? So if something makes you angry, you go, why am I angry? What happened here? Maybe you feel very strongly about that thing. Or maybe you're tired. Maybe you don't have time for that kind of thing. There's a number of things. So you just, little things. When little things happen, you stop and question that and go, why am I feeling this way? What triggered it? Does it really need to trigger it? Or have I got other things going on that sets it off? This is just the tip of, this is what sets it off, but it's been building and things like that. So it's more thinking about, how is that making you feel? I'll give you an example. Say, for example, you are in a lift and you say good morning to someone and they didn't say anything. What goes through your mind?
I mean,
what will go through your mind?
I will feel a little bit frustrated in the first place.
Yes.
And then,
yeah. Because what's happening is, oh, what have I done? Or why are they ignoring me? Or there was a whole lot of stuff that goes on in your head, right? It's all in your head. That person probably didn't hear you. Or that person had other things in their mind. So they weren't thinking about like meeting someone they know. They were like thinking about what's going to happen when they get to the office or somewhere. So when we say dig deep, first of all, let's see what's happening here before we actually put it out there. So it's innate, it's there. It's just practices. Remember what we said, like a muscle. We all have muscles. It's just that some have built their muscles through a number of days and hours of exercise, and some of us just couldn't be bothered. But we have it if we want to work on it. So it's like building that, practicing, and being conscious of what's going on around you, and saying, how's that make me feel? am I tired? Am I feeling this way because I'm tired? Or have I got a lot on my plate? Or am I burnt out? Or am I really stressed? And then what can I do about it so I can help others? Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, but then, I mean, would you say that women are more keen to be better compassionate leaders than men then? Not really.
No, I have worked with some compassionate, like at my organization level, I've worked with some compassionate leader men. You have to look at the culture though. So we are in the process of changing culture at the moment, one person at a time. This is how we're changing. Men traditionally have been tough, right? You get it on the chin and don't give in and just show a brave face, and you're not supposed to cry, and you're not supposed to have emotions. That's the culture. That's the upbringing that men have to deal with. So if they show that side of them, they think. So this is the thing. What you think and what actually happens might be different. If they think that they won't get the respect they deserve if they show the true emotion. In actual fact, they get more respect, not from their male probably counterparts, but they get more respect by being that way, by allowing themselves to feel and understand other people's feeling. But that is decade of work that needs to be done to get there. But they're getting there. I mean, I've come across, I've got a boss. I remember I had a boss who read a book and a sad story made him cry, or he got goosebumps through stories and stuff like that. So there are people like that. But you're right. It's easier for women to display that because there's the maternal, the helper thing comes out. It's easier. But I would like to hear it from the men in the group here about what is your thought around this?
Oh, you're right. Yeah, it can be hard sometimes to display feelings as a man, and I don't think it's most of the time it's the fact that we don't know how to, right? We never learned, or we never saw any fathers, uncles, people like that we admire growing up do that. So it's not that we don't have feelings, it's just that we are taught not to show them, or to swallow them, and keep our head up.
Mm-hmm. What do you think will happen if you show that, Arsen?
Well, I personally can show. It doesn't happen that many times, but yeah, it does happen. And I don't know. It's I don't see it. I don't think it's difficult for me to show my feelings. It is hard to know how to, right? And if I was to, I don't think anything would happen. But one thing for sure, people will laugh, especially the male. The men would laugh and find it ridiculous. But I agree with you. That culture is kind of changing a little bit, but it's probably gonna take time.
Thank you. Anyone else? I think there's like 2 minutes here, Tsion. What do you think we should do?
I think we'll have to close very soon. We'll give opportunity for the participants to send us their questions through email.
Sure. Okay.
We'll also do the recording. It was really a great session. I really enjoyed listening to your presentation, and I know you're quite busy. There's maybe one question, Prof.
Yeah, Professor Scott.
Yes. Let's give you a chance to speak, Professor.
Hold on, let me put my video on. During the process of mentoring a mentee, the important thing is that you build confidence in the mentee. You tell them what is right and what is wrong, or show them something, or you want something proven, you give them something to do, but you have to build confidence in them. Let them depend on themselves and not to come back to you anytime they have a small problem. Give them the confidence that they can do it and they can solve the problem. And it's only when they really fail to do something that they have to reverse back to you. So that's help them a lot to bring in their own ideas, and it helps in them building their confidence in themselves. The first time you correct, for example, an application, second time you go over it again. But if it continues going like this, if they want to write something and you keep correcting every time, this is not going to help them anyway. They have to do it correctly themselves. First time you tell them, second time you tell them, third time to tell them, this is the last time that I'll do it for you. You have to do things your own. And if you do not do it correctly, it means that you are not going to proceed further. So I just want to put in this, that I want to build confidence in my mentees. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Suad. I think we're now almost at the end of the session, and maybe I can explain the next steps for this cohort. As I said earlier, we'll share the profile book at the end of this week, and we will prepare separate webinars for mentors and mentees. After some period of time, we plan to give time for the mentors and mentees to connect and build relationships before preparing other such meetings. We will do virtual check-ins with mentors and mentees sometime between January and February. And we will also share relevant materials, activities you can do together through emails. We'll send those through emails. But if you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to us anytime. You may have seen Deborah here, who's coordinating this program. And I'm sure you had various correspondences with her. I'd really like to thank Deborah for this, the successful communication between mentors and mentees in the first cohort. So she's here to help you if any assistance is required. Thank you all for your attention, and thank you, Kidest, for really such a wonderful presentation. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, and good luck, everyone.
Great. Have a great day or evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.